Are you
Are
waiting
you waiting?
to be? Hey, welcome to another rare conversation with myself, Tony Jalen, and the wonderful.
Danielle Jalen.
Hey, thank you for joining us, guys. We are live on YouTube, on Twitter, on Facebook, and if you haven't joined the Rare Facebook community, we encourage you to do so. And today we're going to talk about: are you waiting for permission to be great? And I think when I look at things that I've been successful at in my life, what I deem to be successful. I think it all of them came to that point where, I think I was maybe saying, waiting for someone to say it's okay to go after your dreams. It's okay to go ahead and tap into your strengths and your gifts. And then sometimes what it took something like to go ahead and shake me up and say, you know what? Why the hell am I waiting for someone to give me permission to be great? And so we're going to talk about that today in that topic. We're going to talk about some questions that you can maybe ask yourself to go ahead and break through, some thoughts to consider as well. So, Danielle, you've done a lot of different things in your life. What do you think in the past has made you wait for permission to tap into your greatness when you know it's the right thing, and that by doing so it could make a difference for you too?
Sometimes I think it's easy to just feel like it's not my time right now. Like for me, I oftentimes think, like my role as a mom and as a wife come before the role of what who I am, I guess, as just being a woman. So I think sometimes it's just holding yourself back in that sense of, maybe it's just not my time to do that.
Do you think others feel the same way at times?
I think so. I think sometimes, I don't know if maybe for you, like, it's just not my time. Like, I have this purpose to serve first, or I'm a manager, or I'm a boss, or I'm a father. Like, instead of fulfilling other passions that you have, you just put it on hold.
Yeah, I mean, I think I can say I've fallen into that trap at different times, and I think it's one of those things where your intuition, your gut says you got to go for it, and like there's something that tells you like it's the right thing to do because it makes the world a better place when you're your authentic self. And I wonder sometimes if we use those roles as a safety net, almost for lack of an excuse not to go ahead and pursue our greatness.
A little bit, I think, yeah.
So I mean, I think so how do we go ahead and work through that? How do we like not have to wait for permission of someone to tell us what to do? Because I think this is a society now where a lot of people are waiting for someone to tell them what to do, and the people who are actually going out there and saying, you know what, they're taking the bull by the horns, says, no, I'm going to go and do this, whether people like it or not, because it makes the world a better place. Those are the people right now that are changing the world, right? Those are the people that are making an impact not only in their homes, but also in their community and the world. It's not that you need to be some big world changer. You just need to go ahead and change your world. And I think there's power in um, tapping into it, because I think we also got to recognize when, are we waiting for someone to give us permission? Is that we have a choice.
We have a choice, I think. A lot of times too, like we think that there's a better time to do it. And if you've noticed anything in your life, as for me, like there's never a perfect time for anything to happen. It's supposed to happen when it happens. And so I think thinking that, oh, next month it'll be a good time to start this, or, next year will be, and then all of a sudden the time is here and we're like, oh, it's just not the right time right now. And so I think even for myself, like looking at the beginning of the year, like, oh, I'm going to have all this time this summer because now I'm not driving Ezekiel around, and I'll have all this time to be marathon training. And the time came to start marathon training, and I didn't do it. And then it's like, oh, I'll just do it next year. Well, instead of having that mindset towards it, I'm just like, okay, well, I might not be running the full marathon, but I can still put the time and effort in right now to complete a half. Like, it doesn't, I don't have to like completely give up what a goal is, just because I procrastinate and thinking a different time is going to be better to start something.
Yeah. Yeah, I read this here just the other day. Working at something to get good is difficult, but remember this. The world usually wants you to do something you don't want to do or something you don't care about. It's up to you. And when we look at I think we spend more time thinking about waiting for the right time sometimes versus doing it and creating that time. They say life doesn't give you purpose, you give life purpose. So I think one of the questions a person's got to ask themselves of these ideas and whatnot is, have you committed to really doing what excites you? When you set your marathon goal in the beginning of the year, did you truly commit to it or not?
Well, no, and I ask myself now, I'm like, is it something I truly, really wanted to do? Like, how important was it that to me?
Mhm.
Or was it just an idea that sounded good at the time? And so, was it super important to me that I did it? I don't know, because I clearly didn't put in the efforts behind it to make it that important.
Right. And I think, when we look at commitment, we got to, dare to be true to our own feelings and commit ourselves to something that we want to do, because it's hard, right? Because everyone tries to tell us what we should do versus what you should do. And there's a thing you and I talked about last night on the drive to Madison is should equals shame. You know, um, how do you not let someone stop you though? Because it's risky and scary to commit to something that truly excites you.
How do you let someone not stop you?
Yeah, how don't you let someone stop you to like and not wait for permission to do it?
Well, I think that it just comes down to you believing in yourself and having that confidence in yourself just to do it, and not necessarily um, have to care, I guess is the word, what other people are thinking or giving you permission to do.
Yeah, I saw an article. It was from a newspaper from many years ago, and if I did a screen share, um, I don't know if I can find it here now. Oh yeah, it is. So Barron's newspaper said, and this was in when was it? May 31st, 1999. The Dow Jones Business and Financial Weekly. Amazon.bomb. The idea that Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos said has pioneered a new business paradigm is silly. He's just another middleman, and the stock markets begin to catch up on to that fact. The real winners on the net will be firms that sell their own products directly to consumers, just like what's happening at Sony, Dell, and Bertelsmann. And it's this picture of him like with a bomb, right? And I think too is like when we are seeking someone else's permission, we're actually seeking someone else's belief in us. And I think the most important belief we got to embrace is our own belief in ourselves, like our inner scorecard versus the outer scorecard. Because I think it's a dangerous slope if you're constantly looking for the outer scorecard to give you that permission, don't you think?
Yeah.
So when I'm looking at things, it's like, here's a question we can all ask ourselves is, what do you have to do or be able to do to change in order to do what really excites you?
Say that again.
What do you have to be able to do or change in order to do what really excites you?
Well, I think just taking the first step and doing something in regards to it. It doesn't have to be the whole thing right away, just like one little change, like every day that takes you in that direction.
Mhm. I think that's important, like committing to that one simple thing, just one thing you can do for the next 100 days. And I think what happens is just that you gain permission from others, so to speak, because, well, they did it once. Oh, they can go do it again. It's like getting a job with, you have a resume with 20 years sales experience. Oh, gosh, I'm going to give him permission to take this job because he's got 20 years experience. And here's another thing to think about when it comes to the things that keep us or that eh, n- put us in position to ask for other people's permission to do something. What things have made it difficult or kept you from being successful at doing what you want?
I think not knowing how to fully do everything, or like what all needs to happen, instead of doing the one thing or the two things that would help you. You focus on all the things that you don't know, and so then you let it hold you back because you don't know how to do all those things.
Yeah. The I don't know how to do it. It's actually one of those misnomers now, right? Because we have this thing called Google, and you can type in any doggone thing in Google and you get an answer for it. But if we all like if the how was really the thing that really held us back, the answer's out there and we'd all be quadrillionaires, right? Because the how is listed all over the place. I think a lot of it comes back down to our own identity and our own mindset about ourselves. You know,
And understanding why you're doing it. Are you specific enough why you want to do it versus it being just a general broad goal?
right? We've talked about this before. Vision is a detailed description of a foreseeable future. And I think we all have something inside of us when we think about it, we get a little jacked up about it. We get excited about it. It's like, oh my gosh. But it also gives us that little knot in our throats going, man, that makes me a little nervous right there. It could be, going the extra mile for your spouse. It could be putting yourself out there at your job and like applying for something that, you thought might be outside of your wheelhouse, or you're calling on that customer, or coming with that idea. They talk about the people who are on their deathbed. The big thing is they regret is things that they didn't do, even though there was not no concrete evidence saying that they shouldn't do it, especially if they made the world a better place. Um, there's a thing about that part too is like we wait for that permission, and a lot of it comes down, I think, also to discipline. And discipline is knowing what it is that you need to do, and not always wanting to do it, but doing it anyways. And I think that comes back to your why, right? And we know we talk about the why a lot on our conversations, but I think it's important. I think too we got to ask the question: if you're waiting for permission, well, if you don't do it, if you wait for someone else's permission to do it, what is actually the cost associated with that? You know, and I was listening to a podcast yesterday and talked about um, it's more about who we believe we aren't that makes us wait for other people's permission than believing who we are. Chris, agree or disagree on that?
Yeah, I think we're not 100% who we want to be as our best version. And so it's like sometimes those insecurities and questions of who we are and what we're capable of doing right now holds us back from who we can become, instead of working at those things to become that better version of yourself. We tend to hide behind, well, I don't know how to do it. I can't do it right now.
Right. And for me, when I hear that,
Mhm.
I feel like that's just a sorry excuse. Like, no, that's just a excuse. Are you like either one, you don't care enough about it, or two, you're just not putting yourself out there and being able to accept that risk that's attached with it.
Right.
I think that's a lot of it. It's like, yeah, in order for you to win, there's risk attached to it. If you want safety, go ahead and 6 by 6 room, 3 square meals a day. That's called prison, right? If you want security. And it's like, they talk about, people who like, they talk about waiting for permission to pursue their goals and dreams in different areas. It could be, they keep on getting the job changes and they get laid off all the time. Like, how's that working out for you? You know? And at the end of the day, we live in a country where you can rebound big time. And I think too, is that we got to consider not just one area of our life. And I've been thinking about this and I was like, reflecting on it just on Sunday, that you can win in not just one area. if you're intentionally focused on it.
Well, it's interesting because I was just reading in my book that when you're setting goals, we tend to break them out into different parts of our life, like our professional or personal, and really it's our life. We should be making life goals because if we're growing personally, it's going to affect all areas of our life. And so I think that it's important to not get focused on what we're giving up making those changes, but what we're gaining by being able to make those changes.
Share more on that.
Well, I think when you win in one part of your life, you're going to start winning in all parts of your life. It's not like because I come home and I shut the door, like I'm going to win in my personal life and it's not going to affect my professional life in any sort of way. And it's my life. It's not
Mhm.
just, what am I'm giving up, like not eating terrible food. Oh, wow. Like, because I'm going to gain health and longevity by choosing better food options, like it's going to affect my life in all areas, not just one part of my life.
And that's so true because I think, I'll get slack from people sometimes. You do things in your personal life just like you do in your work life. Well, if it worked for my work, why wouldn't I do it for my business, my personal life too? Like, you have a vision for your job. Why wouldn't you have a vision for your family? You know, and I think here's a good question to be considering when if we're asking for permission to pursue the things we want to pursue in life. You know, to be happy, what percent of your time do you realistically need to be able to do what you really like?
Well, it should be all of your time.
Mhm. It goes back to that conversation we had a few weeks ago about work-life balance. I think it'd be work-life harmony. They should work in conjunction with things. I mean, to like instead of like I work out, no, I'm a healthy person who works out. How much time do I really need? Well, for me, I like, at least an hour and a half a day. There's 24 hours a day. I wonder if people would ask for less permission if they really dedicate to grow themselves just for 1 hour a day. If we truly made a concerted effort to grow ourselves for just 1 hour, what more can people accomplish, you think?
A lot, because I think that 1 hour that you're being intentional in your time and you're making progress, you're starting to feel better about yourself is going to roll into 2 hours, and then all of a sudden you're working productively with intention for your entire day. Like I think it changes with just one, with just making one decision.
That reminds me, I wrote this down last night. Without a plan for your days, you'll do what's convenient and comfortable. I was talking to one of our employees this morning, and I go, I went through my daily action plan on Sunday, and she's like, "You put together a plan even on weekends?" I go, "Yep." And I go, I start out every morning, my gratitudes, and I say, what's my desired outcome for today? And so for me, it was simple. We went fishing. I wanted to spend quality time with my family on the boat and laugh. And then I put on there as well to go ahead and clean the garage and work on the lawn. And then my weekly plan stuff. And I truly believe I wouldn't have cleaned up the garage if I didn't, but I had a reason attached to it though. My reason was is like, okay, the reason why I'm cleaning the garage, not just because of a responsibility I feel like I need to do, is that I didn't like the fact that you were working out in a cluttered garage. I mean, when you go and work out, you should have like there should be a peaceful space, like a clean space. So like, no, she should not be working out in a cluttered place. So because the motivation was high, the reason was higher. My motivation may not have been there to do it. I did, and I felt so proud of myself afterwards. Like I didn't have to wait for permission to clean up the garage, right? And working on the lawn and doing these things. So, um, but that's why I think it's so important. If you want to not wait as much for permission, have a plan down. And I'm talking even for your health, your finances, your relationships, your spiritual, your education. Um, Literally get a plan down. Some people may disagree and say that's a lot. I don't know. I don't think it's a lot. What do you think?
Well, I think that having a plan and being disciplined gives you more freedom to do things instead of constantly being like in your head and like thinking of all the things that you have to do, which then you end up spending most of your time just thinking about doing the stuff instead of actually just doing it. You free up time and free up yourself.
hmm And it feels so good though, right? To like, and don't get me wrong, there's some days you just want to like quote unquote relax, but I think we cause ourselves more opportunity not to relax when we don't have a plan. I think we wait more often to go ahead and ask for some permission. And folks, you don't need permission to pursue your goals and dreams. You really don't. If they're not willing to get on the train with you, on the bus with you, say, it's okay. I might come back around this train station, bus station later. You know, we should not have to apologize for wanting to raise our standards, whether that be at work or at home in your community. Like, you may not always get your goals, but you'll always get your standards for what you set with yourself, what you're okay with yourself. And without actually doing an inventory of where you're truly at and being honest with yourself, I think that's when we wait for someone else to take charge of our life. And I think that's a dangerous place. If you're waiting for someone else always to go ahead and give you permission, whether that be your spouse, whether that be your boss, I don't know. At least that's my thought.
No, I agree.
As we close up here for our discussion today about permission, it's just a question to be thinking about. Like, are you waiting for someone to give you permission to pursue your goals and dreams? And I think we can think about, okay, what's the repercussions of that? Yeah, but at the end of the day, it is your life. It's your life. And we're each born with an amazing gift that it's our responsibility, I believe, to share that gift with the world. And not everyone will resonate with that message, and they're not supposed to. For goodness sakes, Jesus Christ, not everyone resonates with his message. We're still talking about him thousands of years later. You know, I think this that as long as we live our truth, I think that's when we start living a life that we feel that we have the permission to be great. So, what final thoughts would you like to share as it comes down to this simple question?
Well, I think just take one step in the direction that you truly want to be in, like, and even if it isn't the popular choice of all those around you, it's your choice, and it's what feels good to you. And just do one thing that helps take you in that direction. And once you master that one step, then add something else because it causes this confusion and dysfunction if you're trying to focus on 50 million things at one time to get there, which then just makes you think, why am I doing this? What's the point of it if I have to do all this stuff? And you just have to do one thing.
Mhm. Focus on that one thing. And I think by doing that one thing, you start getting clarity around everything else. I'll give you an example. You want to buy a car, right? Figure out, okay, I want to get this car. And all of a sudden, magically, you start driving down the road, you see that car all over the place. And all of a sudden, you start spending differently your money to go ahead and save up for that car. You start looking at all these things because you just focused on that one thing. So as you listen to today's conversation, what's that one thing you can simply focus on that you've actually been waiting for permission from someone else to go ahead and pursue? Because the truth of the matter is, you don't need it. You really don't need it. As long as you're not breaking God's laws or man's laws, you don't need it. And as long as it's the right thing, if it's making a difference to other people's lives. And we appreciate you guys joining us for another Rare Life conversation here. We found value in it. We encourage you to share this with someone else. These happen on every Tuesday, 12:01 p.m. Central Standard Time, Twitter, YouTube, as well as the Rare Facebook community. So until next time, I'm Tony Jalen, joined by the wonderful Danielle Jalen. Onward and upwards. Until next time.